What up, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Man Cave. Let's get into it. Today's episode is about the dads. I'm a dad, and my nigga Marquise here is a dad.
Also a dad.
So we here to talk dad shit. Everything dad related, everything dad affiliated, and dad associated. I'm ready to get into it. So, I'm just going to come right off the bat. We're going to start with Father's Day. That's what the fuck I want to talk about. This is what we doing right now. We're going to talk about Father's Day. Okay, so I'm just trying to figure out, what is the deal with Father's Day? Why is it that on Mother's Day, moms get flowers, they get jewelry, you want to take mom to a nice dinner, to a restaurant she never been to before, you want to spend that bag on mommy. But then when Father's Day comes around, I get a fucking mug. I get a t-shirt or a tie. I don't get no dinner. I'm told to go in the backyard and barbecue my own dinner for everybody else in the house. What the fuck is the deal with that shit? Somebody explain that to me. Why we get shitted on like that, man? It's a lot of good ones out there. I know I'm one of them. Shit, what's the deal with that?
I think it's more along the lines of kind of like Valentine's Day. It's more, men are not as materialistic in most cases. So we just kind of want.
In most cases. I'm feeling silky today. Shit.
So we kind of, I think what most dads kind of want is just like, hey, let me just chill. Let me just do my thing without any disruptions. That's how I want to spend my day. Compared to, I would want to be showered with gifts. That's not really a dad thing in most cases.
Yes,
at least not stereotypically.
Exactly,
So,
which is going to lead to another episode about, the new man. But we'll get into that some other time. The new man. But yeah, you know what I'm saying? So, I just always thought that was weird because it's even on Mother's Day, when you go out on the street and shit, you'll see, niggas will be out on the corner with baskets and bags and all type of shit. And it's Father's Day come around, nobody's out there. I mean, you know what I mean? And I just be like, damn, you know what I'm saying? But it's there is dad shit. I just feel you know what I mean? Give me the same energy that you give mom, you know what I mean?
Right.
Because it's I'm busting my ass too. I'm not trying to take away from the 9 months at all. You know what I mean? Because that'd be the first thing that they be like, but you ain't carry no baby, no life form for 9 months. I'm not trying to take away from that at all. You know what I'm saying? I commend women for that. I'm glad I'm not one. I don't want to go through that shit at all. Fuck that. Just imagine where it would come out of if men had it. Oh my God. But you know what I'm saying? It's just there's a lot of good dads out there. There's a lot of dads that go above and beyond for their family, and I feel should be treated as such. You know what I'm saying?
And it is. I feel like it is. It's just not as commercially done. Like you said, when Mother's Day comes around, it's flowers, candy, jewelry, that kind of stuff. People looking to make a profit off the feeling of appreciation for mom compared to a feeling of appreciation for dad. Because what can you sell on the corner that you feel like a dad would want? I mean, most men don't do flowers. Most men don't do teddy bears. We don't do gift baskets like that. We don't really have a whole lot as men stereotypically that you can just kind of put together and just kind of sell anywhere. Usually when you see Father's Day gifts, it's tools.
Exactly.
It's stuff like that. Things
people
that you
just
really
gotta
just
think
can't.
hard enough. You gotta just think hard enough. Getting gifts for men is really not that hard. You know what I'm saying? And I know there's a lot of people who have a thing where they're they don't want to buy nobody a gift that has to do with work.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But me, I'm the type to where it's if it has to do with work, I'm not tripping on that because you saving me from doing something. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, for instance, me being a tattoo artist, if somebody came to me and was like, oh, Happy Father's Day, here's a new tattoo gun or like a new kit or some shit. It's like you saved me from having to buy that new gun. You know what I'm saying? So some work shit for me is cool. You know what I mean?
And the thought that you thought about me when you saw this particular thing is always probably the bonus.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like I would rather get a gift that shows that you kind of know who I am, and along those lines, rather than just some random, like, here's just this thing that I saw. Exactly. Like, all right, cool.
Exactly.
So
people just be overthinking that shit. I think that's what it is. When it comes to gifts, it's like, oh, let me try to get something that's gonna happen. Like, and it's like, if you don't know what that is, then keep it simple.
What you know,
you know what I'm saying? Like, keep it simple so you don't fuck it up. It's better than doing some shit that is just like so pointless. You know what I'm saying? Where it's some shit where you gotta sit up there and act like, oh, thanks, this is wonderful and so thoughtful, but you really just like, what the fuck? Yeah. Like, what is this? You know what I'm saying? But my thing is, I just feel like dads, not every dad. I know there's some bad ones. Yeah. I got a bad one. You know what I'm saying? But for me, I feel like honestly, like, I don't fuck with my dad at all. But at the same time, I'm almost kind of happy for him, because I feel like for me, being a dad is easy, because I literally just be like, I'm just going to do the opposite of everything this nigga did. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, if some shit come up, I'll be like, what would this nigga do? He wouldn't be there. I'll be there. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not
a hard concept to grasp.
Yeah.
I mean, certain situations make it harder than it has to be in some cases, but for the most part, it's just kind of, it's how you take care of anything. Like, you take care of your kids like you would want to take care of anything else. So you kind of have to put yourself out there to be that role model that you want to be to your kids, or you do kind of try to fill in those blanks of those things that you didn't get, because you know how it feels that you didn't get it, compared to being in a situation where, like, I didn't like that, but it kind of worked.
Mm-hmm.
So you just kind of have to find that balance of what works for you and what works for your children, because your kids may not respond to the things that you responded to the way you responded to them. So now you just can't go with option A, because that's how I was when I was a kid. But you know, your kid is not you.
Yeah, that's very true. Kids are so much different nowadays. Man, because I'm like, shit, when I was 9 years old, I was staying at home by myself with my baby brother that was only a couple months old, and I was taking care of him. I was giving him his bottle, you know what I'm saying? I was in the kitchen cooking my own food and shit like that, you know what I'm saying, at 9. And I'm like, I got a 9-year-old and an 8-year-old and a 6-year-old, and I just think about leaving them by themselves, and I'd be like, man, hell no, these motherfuckers wouldn't know what to do.
And the crazy thing is, they have more technology that you would think they would be able to do a better job of being by themselves.
Exactly.
Because they have that, like, hey, if something goes down, I call dad, hey, this is what's going on right now. You know, exactly. What can I do, compared to...
They could literally jump on the Alexa and say, call dad, and it'll
do
call
something.
Me.
But times are very different in the last even 10, 20 years.
Right.
So,
right. But yeah, man, on dad shit. Okay, so, you know, there's a few things that I want to cover when it comes to dad shit. Now, for one, like I said earlier, you know, one of the first things that somebody will say when it comes to that type of thing is like, oh, well, you didn't carry the life for 9 months, you know, the 9 months and that. And it's like, that 9 months is a huge deal. 100%. But let's just try. Now, I know there's no way to try to balance this out or weigh this out, but let's just try to weigh it out. Now, let's think about old school dads. We're not even talking about dads now. Dads now are so way different. We're talking about old school dads where it's like, it was your job to go to work every day, put the food on the table,
caretaker,
and that's it. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, just think about that dad though. It's like, okay, yeah, the mom, carried the baby for the 9 months, and then she stays home with the kid and takes care of it and da da da. But then at the same time, it's like you got this dad out here busting his ass every day, all day, for years, which is already cutting off, years of his life, because he working in a factory where he breathing in fucking particles and shit. Now this nigga got motherfucking cancer and don't know where the shit came from. You know what I'm saying? And he done carried that kid, that same kid that she carried for the 9 months, he carried for 18 years plus some, because don't nobody ever leave the house at no motherfucking 18. You know what I'm saying? And then also carried that wife for this entire time, and then also for the rest of her life or his life. You know what I'm saying? So it's like there has to be some kind of, at least did we get close enough to what you did for that? You know what I'm saying? For that to be the type of dad that they be like, no, when Father's Day come around, like, we need to fucking take dad to his favorite restaurant. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's, especially like nowadays. Now, back then there wasn't, but nowadays there is what I would consider a lot of dad shit to do. You know what I'm saying? You could be like, yeah, we gonna take him to his favorite steak restaurant, and then we gonna go to one of them places where we throw axes at the, you know what I'm saying? Like, well, take him to that Top Golf if he a golf, you know what I mean?
I think the dynamic is a little different in that aspect, because, I mean, when you see it as, that mother carrying that kid, you can't do it without her, at all, regardless of what's going on. But I think when it comes to that old school situation of dad is the breadwinner 100%, he goes to work, he does all that, mom's at home. But you got to realize, how often does mom get appreciated for doing all that compared to how often dad gets appreciated for doing all that? Because mom's the one cooking dinner at night because dad's at work all day. She's dealing with the kids. She's doing most of the house. She's taking care of the household itself. And then most of the time, and I can just kind of picture, hey, your dad's had a rough week. I'm making his favorite dinner. We're going to, try to leave him alone a little bit, let him watch TV, let him relax. So I think it gets sprinkled in a little bit more throughout the year compared to one grand day of, hey, your mom's been killing it at the house. Let's go ahead and show her that we really appreciate it, compared to mom showing dad love, multiple times throughout the year, compared to one grand gesture of, hey, your mom's been killing it. Let's do something for her for once, because she's been taking care of the house. Wow, yes, I'm the breadwinner. And honestly, I don't know how I feel. If I'm the breadwinner, I understand that the money is ours as a family. So for you to buy me a gift with my money, it just kind of feels weird, thanks. I mean, it's a weird aspect
like,
to get.
Happy Father's Day. Look what you bought.
Exactly. I picked it out, but overall, you basically bought it. So, I mean, granted, that's more, like I said, that's more old school thinking. New school now, you got two income households that kind of still work together, but overall, it's still. I guess that's just kind of how I felt, how it tends to balance out. Mm-hmm. Like, dad gets sprinkled with more love throughout the year compared to one grand gesture for mom, who's been killing it all year herself. Mm-hmm. So, because now I have the time to take the time out.
Yeah, because I'm not trying to take away from Mother's Day. I just feel like Father's Day should be a little bit more.
It should be bigger than what
you know what I mean.
To be.
Like,
but again, like I said, really we're not as materialistic as.
We really get shitted on with that shit. Like, just, give niggas a little bit more credit. Like, so here's another thing. One of the other things that fucking gets on my nerves. Oh my God. When Father's Day comes around, and then I see a bunch of posts from single moms that are like, Happy Father's Day to me, cause I'm mommy and daddy up in this mother, and it's just like, get the fuck out of here with that shit. I mean, Anybody that want to argue this shit with me, you can go ahead and argue with me, but get the fuck out of here. You look stupid. Leave the day alone for the good dads. Just because the nigga that you fucked with decided to do whatever he did, don't take that away from the rest of us. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because the thing too is like there's always another side of the story. There's plenty of dads out there that are doing everything. House. Single dad, you know, either the mom passed away or mom is on drugs or she ran off or she hoeing or whatever the fuck she doing. You know what I'm saying? It's like it's a lot of single dads out there holding shit down, and you don't see none of them niggas on Mother's Day like Happy Mother's Day to me. Cause I'm mommy and daddy up in this motherfucker. You know what I'm saying? It's like niggas don't say nothing. Niggas just be like Happy Mother's Day to all the moms out there. You know what I'm saying? And to my mom and shit. You know what I'm saying? Like respect y'all. And then not only that, but there's a lot of dads out there that are doing everything, even with a mom in the picture.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Just because the woman is around or the woman is taking care of the kids don't mean that she doing anything for them motherfuckers. It still is dads out there doing every motherfucking thing while the chick just sit back and collect motherfucking child support. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, just leave it alone. You know, let us have our day. Can you just not fucking do that shit? It's already not the greatest day in the world. You know what I'm saying? Like, Mother's Day come around, moms get excited. Like, oh, I'm finna, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know something happening. Yeah. Father's Day come around and we all just be like, eh. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, it's Father's Day. Another tie, thanks. Another mug, and nobody really even sees me drinking coffee like that. I don't know what the fuck is happening. What is going on?
That is really annoying. I don't understand it because you can't. I don't think it's possible to play both roles evenly. Like, even if you are in a single parent household, you can't play both roles because each role is specific to that particular person. Mm-hmm. So you may be a single dad, but there has to, I feel like there should be somebody who is a, that prime female role model. Mm-hmm. to some extent. It may not be family, but it could be, you know, hey, my aunt is somebody who is my primary female role model compared to, you know, my dad is my, exactly. So it just, because I know that there's a huge argument that, you know, no matter who you are, as a man, as a dad, you can't teach your daughter how to be a woman, and as a woman, you can't teach your son how to be a man.
Facts.
So there has to be some outer kind of, not force, but some kind of outer influence to kind of try to get both of those, because you need those evenly. Mm-hmm. So it's just a matter of, you know, I'm the mom and dad. Like, you're just the mom, but, you know, hopefully,
but your
kid has, exactly. You're still doing the job of that a parent should, but the role of the father is supposed to be your primary male, you know, influence, and it may not always be a dad, but it should be, you know, hopefully somebody, grandpa, uncle, somebody, hopefully. But you can't, like I said, you can't teach. It's like, as a dad, you can't teach your daughter how to be a woman. There has to be somebody, hopefully, in her life that can assist with that, and then vice versa. As a mom, you can't teach your son how to be a man, and even then, that still gets a little tricky, because I always kind of feel like, what does it mean to be a man, or what does it mean to be a woman? Mm-hmm. Like, where can you get in there in those discussions? And it's a whole another can of worms. But
so anyway, okay, let's go in a little bit more on that. So that is a good question. Like, what is it to be a man? And like, if you have male children, like, what are you trying to instill in them? Like, me personally, like, I'm trying to teach my sons how to be different like me, because I feel like it takes more of a man to really just be open with himself, you know what I'm saying, than it is to be the type of nigga that's just always like, you know, whatever, you know what I'm saying? Like, you just, it's like, I'm like, okay, that's gonna be another episode too. Hopefully, my homegirl Lena will be on here about that shit. But it's just like, what is it? You know, what are you trying to? I'm trying to teach them just to be open. Like, don't give a fuck how you look or what somebody gonna think about you about saying how you feel. You know what I'm saying? Like, don't be bottling that shit up, because that shit ain't good for nobody, because niggas will just end up exploding over some stupid shit later on. You know what I'm saying? Like, you done bottled up all of this shit because you want to just be like, hey, I didn't like, you know, what you did that, like, kind of hurt my feelings. You just want to sit back and whatever, nigga, suck it up, nigga, be a man, be a man. Then it be some shit like motherfucker go in the refrigerator and drink out the carton, and you like, why you drinking out the motherfucker? Nah, ooh, you know what I'm saying? And it's like, that shit was nowhere near that fucking serious. So it's like, I try to, like, I'm definitely teaching them how to be tough. You know what I'm saying? We do MMA, we fight all the time. So it's like, if something go down, you know, they know how to get out. But at the same time, being tough doesn't mean you have to. You know what I'm saying? Out. It's like, it's hard as fuck to go to somebody and be like, hey, this is how I was feeling. I just got to let you know that shit. You know what I'm saying? It's hard as fuck to be wrong about something and just be like, oh, shit, I'm sorry. Like, I was wrong. My bad. You know what I'm saying? You got that one. Like, you know, I'm just trying to get them to be more like new men, you know what I'm saying? Fuck all of that trying to be hard all the time shit, you know what I'm saying? Like, that shit is so fucking played out, man. It's fucking lame, you know what I mean? Like, ain't nobody having no real good time in life, which is what you supposed to be doing if you constantly all the time want to be all like, and it's like, man, fucking get out of here with that
Emotional stability is definitely more important than it was 10, 20, 30 years ago, even longer than that. And yeah, the stress of keeping everything bottled inside definitely takes years off your life, and it's definitely something that we should be able to be open and communicate about, because the stereotype is, you know, men shouldn't be as emotional as women are, but I don't think men are, I wouldn't say as open emotionally as women compared to, I think women just go through more emotions than men do. So I just think that they go through a whole lot more than we do. So they're definitely, imagine if I can't even imagine if the roles were reversed. Just having just a bunch of emotionless women just running around, like, the world would be a much scarier place, I feel.
That would be insane.
Yeah. But being open to communication and opening up about your feelings, and just, it's a human thing. Mm-hmm. So it's definitely how, I don't understand the history of how it got to be where it was, but I'm just kind of glad it's kind of going to the wayside of, now you're able to at least be open about what you're feeling, and then being able to express how you feel in a constructive way. So I definitely feel you on that, on how to, you know, have your kids be emotionally open. That way, if there's an issue, you can address it then and there, compared to 10, 20 years later down the line, your son just goes off on you. It's like, yo, like, why didn't you say something sooner? Like,
exactly.
We could have fixed this years ago.
Exactly.
So,
yeah, because this is definitely something that is taught, I feel, because it's like, when you a kid, you emotional as fuck. You know what I'm saying? Kids will fucking cry about everything. They say whatever. You know what I'm saying? And then somewhere down the line, we get fucking programmed to be like, I'm supposed to be like this. And nothing's wrong with me. Nothing bothers me. I'm hard as a rock. And it's like, but for what though? You know what I'm saying? Like he said, stressing out takes years off your life. I'm 38. I don't stress over nothing. I start stressing, I cut that shit up.
So when anything that is logical is learned. So it's definitely like, you ever just like, that's why kids are the way they are. They're just huge balls of emotion. And then as we parent them and start to discipline them, they start learning what to do, what not to do, what they should be doing. And that's when logic starts to take over. And then your emotions start kind of taking a back seat compared to, okay, well, I really want to do this, but I know that if I do it, this could be the reaction that I get from my parents. So I'm not going to go that route. I'm going to go this route. So now you're already just kind of off track somewhat because you want to do this. This is how you feel. You feel you're being drawn this way, but because of your parents or whoever your main influences are, you know that that's not the route they want me to take. That's not the route that I should go. I'm going to go this way. So now you're no longer doing everything based off feeling. You're doing it now based off logic or how you put things together, and it doesn't always work out the way it should be. And I feel like mainstream media, especially when it comes to music, is definitely a good example of that. You have a lot of artists out here who do things that aren't necessarily what they want to do, but they feel like, okay, well, this is not what I want to do, but this is kind of what I have to do to get my foot in the door. And when they actually do something that they really like doing, it's night and day. Mm-hmm. So it's like, oh, okay, this person's music is, oh, okay, I didn't realize I had it like this. And then they go one way and then they go another. And you can just tell the difference. And that's just kind of in everybody. You can tell the reaction to certain things when somebody does it out of love compared to out of obligation.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I do agree with that shit. Okay, so some dad shit. How do you feel about being a dad? Have you ever said, suck it up?
Nah. Well, I have a daughter.
Okay.
So I've never had. I think
that's one of those things
of
that's
girls,
definitely a programming. Suck it up. Don't you cry. You know what I'm saying?
And I think that's every parent, because I don't think a lot of parents are emotionally stable enough to deal with their kids' emotions. So it's just like, hey, you're having an episode. I need you to just go ahead and calm down because I can't handle your emotions because I don't understand my own. Mm-hmm. And it turns into a learned thing. So now you're both are jacked up because you don't know. Like, I'm not. It's just slightly off track a little bit, but I'm not the discipline. I can listen to my kids cry. I can not listen to it, but I can tune it out. Mm-hmm. If I know what they're crying about is legit to them, it's like, all right, well, do what you got to do. Like, if you got to cry it out, go ahead and cry it out. Like, I'm not bothered by it. I can tune it out and continue to do whatever it is that I'm doing. I mean, I'm still listening to make sure that everything is still good, but I'm not the kind of parent that's like, just, I can't take it anymore. You got to stop crying. Like, just knock it off. Like, it's if you got to cry it out. Just go ahead. Sometimes I might like, hey, just go in your room and do that because doing it right here is not doing it for me. But to a certain extent.
That's me. Yeah, like, I don't go crazy, but yeah, if it's going on for too long, I'm definitely one like, hey, what are you doing?
Because then you know there's an issue there.
Come on, man.
And they might not be able to express it, but you know, like, okay, it's been 20 minutes. Like, what how bad is it bothering you? Why are you still crying about it?
What is this about? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, so it
does depend on what it's about.
Exactly.
Also, because it's like, if they done fell and got hurt or something and you know what I'm saying, then I'm not tripping on that shit. But if it's like something,
I told
Kobe
you no,
won't
and
let
you're
me,
mad.
watch cars crashing because he playing a video game or some shit. Then it's like, man, seriously?
Right. So, yeah.
Come on.
Well, now you got. Sometimes you ain't gonna have your way.
You don't have to cry about
it. You have to learn about it. You have to learn that eventually that it's not gonna happen. You can't have everything you want. Mm-hmm. And that's what eventually turns into. So, like I said, it's all situation. Every situation is a little bit different, and you got to handle it. You have to handle the situation for what it is individually instead of a blanket way of handling everything.
Right. Now, if somebody fall or something like that, then I'll just be like, you all right?
Yeah.
And then if they crying, it's like, are you sure? Does it hurt that bad? Do you need to cry? And then it's like, Oh, I guess I don't.
Sometimes like, when you hurt yourself, it might sometimes it's more mental. Sometimes it's more mental than it is physical.
To be like,
you know, you fall down the stairs. That like you may be fine, like physically you fine. I got just a few scrapes and bruises, but the idea that you fell down the stairs like that might scar you for a few hours. And now you're looking at stairs like
I actually just fell down these motherfuckers.
Yeah,
yeah. I think everybody's had that trauma.
Yeah,
yeah, because both of my boys have already had their first hematoma. Just some boy shit. Multiple times, too. Not even one time. These niggas, oh my God, they're wild. But that's the thing that I like about my kids. Like, my kids are loud, not bad.
right.
You know what I'm saying?
There's a very big difference.
I'm really proud at the fact that I don't ever have to yell at them for doing no stupid shit.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because I'm like, I've seen people with kids where it's like you screaming at the kids because they drawing on the walls and shit like that. And it's like, yeah, my kids wouldn't do that. It would be me just being like, hey, y'all are getting too loud with this wrestling and flipping in here. Let's bring this shit down.
And it feels like it's more for the outside of parents, because I'm pretty sure their loudness may not have necessarily been bothering you, but because of where you were and you're worried about, hey, we got neighbors, we got, you know, there are people around here looking like you guys got to kind of calm it down. Mm-hmm. So what you're saying is like it's not necessarily what you're doing; it's your effect on the people around you at this particular point in time, and even then, hopefully, you can explain that and they understand it.
Yeah.
But
because when you in public, you got colored kids, even if they just a little loud and not bad,
they already have this stereotype against them.
It looked the same. You just being badass kids, and it's like, I be making sure minds are real fucking cool and
loud
shit.
is definitely not the same as bad.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, my barber was tripping about that the other day. I took the boys to get haircuts, and when we were sitting in the barbershop, like they were just sitting and like looking at the TV and talking to each other, you know, quietly and shit. And the barber's like, "Damn, man, you got some fucking good ass kids." He was like, "I ain't heard a peep out of them this whole time. They just over there, you know, to they self and shit." He was like, "That's some good shit, man, because kids be up in this motherfucker," and I'd be like, "Man, I'm about to whoop your ass myself." You know what I'm saying?
So, but again, there's a difference between loud and bad. Like if your kids are just going back and forth, just being too loud, that's one thing. But they just running over the store, climbing on people,
throwing shit,
touching stuff they ain't supposed to be touching.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
And you're not checking that. That's the whole different situation. Like
that's when it's like,
hey,
what is going on?
Like you want to get that. I think that's one of my biggest pet peeves as a parent. Seeing other parents not do things when they see their kids are doing something that they shouldn't be doing. Mm-hmm. And you're like, I'm not your parent, but if I was.
Exactly.
You just want to talk to them like, hey, you want to...
Okay, so that's another thing. How do you feel about discipline in public?
Depends on what it is. I haven't.
And what type of dad are you when it comes to discipline in public?
I've been lucky enough to not have to worry about it as much, because like I said, my kids are pretty well behaved. They don't really get out of pocket in public too much. They might, like I said, my godson runs around quite a bit because he's super hyper, but he's not bad. So he's just like, hey, stay over here, stay with the cart. So it's never been to a point to where it's like too much. But discipline overall, I treat it like the law. Like I always got a lot of flack from my daughter's mom. Like, you don't discipline your kids, you just let them run all over you. And it's like, that's not necessarily true. I don't yell and scream. I don't feel like that's always productive. So depending on what the issue is, I mean, I might bark every once in a while if they're doing something. Hey, knock that off. Like compared, like, you know, real quick. But I've never had to like yell at them for doing something. I'm more of a.
I've had to yell a couple times.
Yeah,
but only a couple times, so that's not bad.
I like I said, I treat discipline kind of like the law. Like, this is what the punishment is for this particular crime. The punishment fits the crime, and that's it. Like there's, I mean, sometimes if you get caught speeding, you gotta pay the ticket. Like there's no getting around that. Now, every once in a while, you might get lucky. You might, hey, this is just a warning.
Mm-hmm.
But for the most part, when you break the law, you get disciplined the way that the punishment. I really kind of hate using this because it doesn't always work in our favor that way.
Mm-hmm.
But I treat it like how it's supposed to work compared to how it actually works. But
Gotcha.
this crime will get you this much time compared to what it is.
I know the analogy.
Yes. Thank you. But
exactly.
The crime is supposed to fit. The punishment is supposed to fit the crime, and it's black and white. I mean, sometimes it gets a little gray depending on what the situation is, but I'm also the judge in my little court. So okay, that's your story. You got any witnesses? Anybody else? So now I have to use my best judgment in that situation. But I never feel like I have to yell about anything. It's like, because I'm definitely also not one of those parents that dry threat. Like because eventually kids catch on. Like she gonna say all that, but she ain't gonna actually do
that shit.
So I feel like it's definitely better to not dry threat and just follow up with everything you always say, because eventually your kids will be like, if Dad said it, it's gonna happen.
It's gonna happen.
It's gonna happen. So I mean, go ahead.
No, that's what mines know about me.
Yeah.
So I'm lucky enough to be able to just like give looks and shit.
Yeah.
And then that's the end of that shit. You know what I'm saying? Somebody doing something and I literally just turn and stare. And then as soon as one turns and looks at me, I'm like, and then it's like,
yeah, hey, we getting there. Because eventually they'll start realizing.
Like, you already know, you know what I'm saying? But the thing is, though, I'm the type of dad where it's like, if my kids are doing something stupid in public, I will snatch your motherfucking ass in that store. But I've never had to do that.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But it's just like, if it was something like, I've seen shit, you know what I'm saying? Where it's like that parental instinct, and I almost want to be like, oh shit, that ain't even my kid. I'll send it. What the fuck is your
It used to be that way.
You better chill out with all of that shit.
It used to be that way. It used to be, you grew up and any adult, all the adults kind of had this understanding of how kids should act in a certain way, and then you know, mom got their back turned, you acting up, and you got another adult like,
to
hey,
that society?
like, oh,
yeah,
shit.
exactly. What happened to that society? I used to see shit like that all the time. Some kid would be acting up with their mom or some shit, and then it'd be some, older man to turn around and be like, boy, how'd you be talking to your mama like that?
Yeah.
I'll take that off now, whoop your ass, you know what I'm saying? And the kid like, oh shit, and the lady be like, nah, let him do it, you know what I mean? And then it's just like, okay, that calmed that shit down, but now motherfuckers just be doing whatever, man, and people just be like, oh, they're just being creative. Motherfucker, your kid is acting crazy.
Your kid's actions are inconveniencing everybody else, so you might want to go ahead.
You look crazy. Your kid is acting crazy. Check that shit.
And I think it does go back to discipline overall. So, I'm not a spanker, in particular. I'll get that hand in a minute if it's doing something it ain't supposed to be doing. But I'm not necessarily a spanker. I'm not gonna say I don't believe in it. I just haven't been in a situation where I've had to use it personally. But if you got kids that need to be spanked, babe, go all the way. Go ahead. Do what you gotta do.
Because sometimes it's necessary.
Every kid responds to something different.
Mm-hmm.
Some kids respond to getting stuff taken from them. Some kids respond to you can't go nowhere. It seems to be nowadays when you got preteens and teenagers taking their phone, it does a whole lot. Mm-hmm. I remember when I was high school age, I got my first cell phone, getting that taken away. Like, I spent most of my life without that thing. I'm good now. Like now, it's a little bit different to where kids have had that cell phone most of their life.
Okay.
So now you take it away, they have no idea how to go on without it.
They be
so,
fucking lost like a motherfucker.
So,
no, but me though, I'm a spanker. But again, I don't never have to do that shit. You know what I'm saying? It's like, I say like the couple of times my kids did some shit that really was on some stupid shit, and then they got a good spanking. That put me in a position now to where like I can kind of dry threat, because it's not a dry threat. It's like, if I gotta whoop your ass, I'm gonna whoop your ass. You know this 100%. But it's like, if they doing something more like, because here's the thing, like, my kids are good as fuck, but there is just one particular situation that usually gets them in trouble. It has nothing to do with school. It has nothing to do with, you know, elders and being polite and talking. And these motherfuckers will constantly fight each other.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense.
That is their biggest problem. Like, they good in every other aspect, but will literally turn to each other and be like, you shut up and you get on. And I'll be like, where the fuck did that come from? Like, some shit that happened earlier, and this motherfucker accidentally tripped you and you still, you know what I'm saying? Like, it just be the craziest fucking shit, and they just always want to. Man, I don't even know where that comes from. Fighting? What are y'all doing?
Me and my sister were the same way. Me and my sister are 2 years apart. I'm 2 years older than her. Like, when we were younger, like, it felt like we couldn't stand each other. But I always had her back and she always had mine. When it came to an outside force.
Exactly.
But between us, it was always like...
Some shit happened at school, they be right up on each other like, you better leave my sister, you better leave my brother. You know what I'm saying? But with
I think it just comes from being around somebody all the time.
Stop touching me. And it's like,
I have no idea.
Barely fucking put his elbow on you and you flipping out. It is insane. It's like, it's hilarious, but then at the same time, it's like, we y'all cut this shit out. Yeah. Like, I'm trying to get y'all to learn that family is everything, and you know what I'm saying. You're supposed to be nice.
Families fight.
Be cordial with each other. Y'all, you took my thing. I didn't take your thing. And I'm just like,
as long as they're on the same page when it counts. A little bickering here and there. I get it. It happens. Like I said, me and my sister were the same way. I still, to this day, do not understand why we were just at each other's throat.
Just fighting.
To be fighting. I guess to be fighting. Like you said, if it was anybody else, it was...
Yeah, me and my little brother Evan used to fight all the time. And for what? I don't even know. I can't even remember any of that shit. But boy, we would be going at it.
Same thing with my brother. Me and my stepbrother. We got introduced to each other. I think I was 10 and 8 or 10 and 12. So we're 2 years apart as well. Mm-hmm. And we were not on the same page for the longest time. We would physically fight. And then we've been brothers for so long. Now we cool. Like, we family. Like, it's, and I have no idea where, I don't know where the headbutting start, or where it stopped. But after being brothers for so long,
I feel like once you get grown, I think that's
definitely
because it's like, now y'all don't have to be together all the time. You can be in your own places. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And now you can do grown up shit. You know what I'm saying? Let's go out. Let's hit the club. Let's, you know what I'm saying? Do that type of shit. Get that outing going rather than right up under each other all day. I want to play the game, but I want to play the game.
I think I just around somebody you're around all the time.
Did you drink my chocolate milk, nigga? I'm gonna bust your mouth.
Because even with this whole, I think it's just being under somebody all the time.
All the time.
Because when you're with your siblings, you're up under each other all the time.
All the time.
And then once you kind of separate, everything kind of calms down. Mm-hmm. And I think a good example of that is just the pandemic. How a lot of couples in general, they would have, as a couple, you have your own lives. You do work, and you just kind of congregate at the same place and just kind of help each other out. But with the whole pandemic, if you're under each other all the time, you start start bugging out again. You start fighting again just for whatever reason. And it's just
you be like, damn, I can't stand you.
So maybe space is
I just
the common factor
that
out
I
here.
can't stand your ass.
So maybe it's space. I don't know.
Yeah.
Get away from each other for a while.
For a while.
Just get away from each other for a while.
For real. But yeah, man, being a dad is cool. You know, trying to get my boys on the right track, trying to keep my girls on the right track. That's a scary fucking thing, having a daughter.
Yes.
I feel like I'm gonna shoot everybody.
See, I have that mindset.
News, there's a dad going around just shooting teens. Because these motherfuckers did something to my daughter, man. Oh my God. It's a headache.
It is. I think one of the craziest things is having that mindset about your daughter and then realizing that you don't have to worry because you've instilled in her everything that you would want to. So my goddaughter is 13, just turned 13 back in December, and it's been crazy because I've held with this girl since she was born, and now she's 13, a teenager. It's like it's ridiculous, and it's just kind of like just seeing how she's handled some of the situations that she's been in. It's been like, okay, like I don't feel like I have to worry as much because you have a good head on your shoulders, which is kind of what I think I understand what every parent wants for their children, but especially dads for their daughters. Like, I think one of the things that I've always worried about is my daughter, am I going to love my daughter enough to where she doesn't feel like she has to get that love from anywhere else? Because you know the whole stereotype about girls with daddy issues, yada, yada, yada. And I've always just wanted to make sure that, like, if you never feel like anybody ever loves you, know that I always love you. And this is kind of the thing that I'm trying to feed into my daughter, my goddaughters, everybody, any kid that I feel like I've had a help in raising. So, and so far it's turned out pretty well. So I think that's kind of like I said. I think that's what the goal is. I don't want to have to, like, I don't like the idea of having to hockey. I don't want to be that dad. Because, like, again, I didn't really think about it until my godson came along. But, like, the idea of some dad, even just as I'm just kidding, or just a joke, but, like, hey, I got this gun, I will shoot you if you fuck with my daughter. Like, that's my son. Like, on the flip side, it's kind of one of those things that's a little like I understand it, but then again, because that's my son on the other end, it's like I don't fucking like it. Like, my son is just as important as your daughter. So, you know, your daughter might do something to fuck with my son. So then so how would I look, you know, as a man with my gun next to my son? Like, if your daughter hurts my son, like, it's a whole different dynamic. So it's just kind of one of those things where it's like, look, I will be here for my kids with whatever they're going through, but they kind of have to go through it. I have some hard-headed ass kids. But to be fair, I was hard-headed too. And I think that's just how I learned. That's the lessons that I learned the hard way are the lessons I only have to go through one time. And like I said, because I understand that and I get it. I understand that I cannot control what my kids do. For the most part, I can control a lot of what they do, right. But you can't be there for everything. So all I can do is just try to teach them the best to handle the situation as best as they can, and if they're ever in a situation that they can't handle, they can come to me, because I will have their back. I will listen to what the issue is, and I will be that parent that listens. Because, you know, I think a lot of us now who had parents who didn't listen to when we were trying to explain to them how we felt about stuff because of tradition, how they were raised themselves, yada yada. We had to break that cycle of why, because I said so, which is fine in some cases, but if you don't explain to me why I can't do something, you're not necessarily deterring me from doing it.
Right.
You're making actually me wonder about it more.
Right.
So
like,
now
what you trying to keep me from?
Yeah. So now I'm trying to do what it is because I'm still curious about it. Because I said so is not necessarily an explanation to why I shouldn't do something. It just means that you don't want me to do it. Mm-hmm. So now I'm in this situation that you told me I shouldn't be in. So now I definitely feel like I can't call you. Like I'm in trouble. I can't call you because I know I'm gonna get, and I told you so, and I'm gonna get in trouble. And now I'm like, I can't turn to you. So I try to keep that line of communication open with my kids because I'm like, look, you're gonna do what you want to do. I will explain to you why I don't want you to do it. But if you feel, if the urge is that strong that you're gonna do it anyway, then at least be safe about it. And if you ever get into trouble, you know, let me know so I can help you out of it.
I can help you with that shit. Facts. Yeah, man, because my oldest daughter just turned 16. So, and it's terrifying.
Oh, like I said, if 13 is scary, I can only imagine 16.
In high school, she getting too grown for me. I'm not feeling it at all.
But do you feel that she is in a place where...
Yeah, she got a good head on her shoulder, so I already know. Plus, one of my biggest, I think, catches for me with my oldest daughter is, like, she been saying ever since she was, like, 11 that she don't think she want kids. So I'm like, that makes me feel a little bit better because it's like anybody that don't want kids is definitely being a lot safer, you know, when it comes to certain things. And then just also the fact that I know that she not going to be no teen mom.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because if she's saying like she don't want no kids, then it's like the chances of them happening this early are also a lot slimmer. You know what I mean? So it's just like, okay, but she's just like, yeah, I love kids, but I just kind of just don't feel like that's really for me. You know what I'm saying? Like,
good.
Okay, yeah, for real.
Keep that same energy.
Keep that same energy for real. Love my kids to death, but anytime somebody comes and tells me like, yeah, I don't think I want kids, I just be like, okay,
yeah.
I mean.
I can't make you have kids. I mean,
and I would say either way, you good. You know what I mean? Because it's like, it's a wonderful, it's a blessing, it's a glorious thing to have them. I love my fucking minis. They are hilarious to me, and just seeing them doing shit that I look at and be like, that's me.
Right.
Like, this is 100% a little me right now, saying everything that I would be saying and shit like that. Like, that shit trips me out. But then at the same time, it's like, if I didn't ever have no kids, though, I think I still would have been pretty good. You know what I mean? It'd be a lot quieter around it. That's for sure. But I mean, either way, you know what I mean? It's like, if you don't want them, hey, planet is overpopulated anyway.
Definitely.
But if you do want them, hey, it's a blessing. It's a glorious thing to see this little person that came out of your boss.
Growing up to be just like you.
Exactly.
So I
look like you.
So I have a question for you as far as co-parenting. Mm-hmm. How's that been in your experience? Because I know that seems to be the biggest obstacle when it comes to, especially for, I think, I want to say for most, but I think especially for us as black men, co-parenting just seems to be it's, for some reason, it seems like the hardest thing in the world. And I actually have a great relationship with my daughter's mom and her stepdad. Like, we're all three of us have a hand in raising these girls, and it makes things so much easier but I also see a lot of non-co-parenting. And it's just-
A
and
lot
it's-
of bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, buddy. Yeah, okay, so first of all, I'm gonna start by saying I got 4 kids, 2 boys and 2 girls. I have 1 with 1 baby mama, and then 3 with my ex-wife. I am lucky enough to not have an issue.
Good.
And I've never really had an issue. I mean, with my first baby mama, there was a little issue, but that was just us fighting and shit. It
Right.
was never really like that. You know what I'm saying? But as far as co-parenting, like, we pretty much always been good. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, we're cool. You know what I'm saying? Like, if she needs something, she can hit me up and ask me. You know what I'm saying? Like, it ain't no big deal. With my ex-wife, it's the same way. You know what I'm saying? Like, co-parenting is nothing. My kids are over here all the time. You know what I'm saying? Like, we are real cordial with each other. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
She'll call me on the phone and be like, oh, the kids was doing this and da-da-da, and let me in on shit. So it's like, I mean, fortunately for me, because I've seen so many fucking just bad situations that I'm just like, bruh, I don't know what the fuck I would do if I was in that shit. But, you know, luckily, I mean, we good. It's like, I'm pretty good at choosing good people. You know what I'm saying? I feel like I'm a good person. So it's like when good people are around each other, they're, you know, you can bump heads and have little spats and shit, but there really ain't no reason to not still be
in the
a good person. You know what I'm saying? And be like, hey, this is your kid. You got to be in the life. We help each other out. You know what I'm saying? So never had an issue. Like, you know what I mean? Like, for real.
Do you feel that co-parenting, successful co-parenting, do you feel like that's rare, or do you just feel that it's not as loud? Because I feel there are a lot of situations that aren't what I guess social media and society say it is. Like, for instance, the biggest stereotype that we face is that black fathers are majority out of the picture. And a lot of kids are raised in single mother homes. And that's kind of what society has kind of like beamed on us.
Yeah.
But it's not necessarily true. It's just
somebody need to do like a study on that shit, because I'm like, most of the black fathers that I know have been in their kids' lives, have always been there. So I'm like, where are these niggas running away?
And I think what the biggest issue with that is the idea that because you're not with your kid's mother or father or whatever the case may be, father's out of the picture. And that's not true at all. Like,
exactly.
And I think that's where those
we're just not together.
numbers, we're just not together. And I think that's where those two numbers kind of get jumbled up. Like, oh, he sleeps with his mom mom's the primary parent, but he's not around. Like, that's not necessarily true. And I think that's where the biggest misconception is, because I think there are way more fathers and they're active in their kids' lives than there is put on. And so the loud part of it is, you know, black fathers are more absentee than any other race, when that's not necessarily the truth. It's just what it seems to be.
That's what the
said
media
the most. Said the most.
Portrays.
So like I said, as far as co-parenting, I think I feel like there are more successful co-parenting situations than there aren't, except just the bad ones are the loudest.
The bad ones get the most attention.
Right.
That's the shit that you see all over the place.
Exactly.
And people always fucking, you know, putting people business.
And that's where that, you know, and then going back to the beginning, that's where that I'm the mama and the daddy for Father's Day comes into the picture. And it's like, you're being loud, but I don't think that's the case for a lot of families.
Exactly. And then it's like, the other thing that fucking irks me too is like when people want to portray that whole the father is out of the picture type of thing. You know what I'm saying? When they never take into consideration the type of situations where it's like the father could be in the picture constantly trying to
Right.
be there,
Making an effort.
and the mom is the one that's like, no, nigga, get out of here. You ain't gonna never see that mama. You know what I'm saying? And then go back to the kid and be like, your daddy don't want to be around, and you know what I'm saying? And it's like, I've seen that situation a couple of times, and I just been like, that is fucked up.
It is.
Like, you are super fucked up for that shit. Like, this nigga been, you know, going to your mama house and auntie house trying to get every new number. You keep changing your number so he can see his kids and shit. And you over here telling your kids, your daddy just disappeared. And this nigga chasing and chasing, you know what I'm saying? And it's just like...
And I think what's crazy about
man, some women, ooh, boy.
I think the craziest thing about that is it only works for a little while. Because eventually your kid is going to grow up and realize that that person that was trying to keep the other parent away is full of shit.
Mm-hmm.
And now you've broken that trust and that bond because it's like...
now you the bad parent.
Right. So
and all this time you was trying to look good.
Yeah, you've been trying to look good for all these years and your kid got smart. And I was like, okay, I can see you. I can, now that I'm older, I can recognize the effort that you're putting into when I couldn't when I was younger because, you know, I had so and so in my ear.
Mm-hmm.
And it's gonna backfire in the long run. I can understand some situations, but ultimately I definitely feel like time over money. Like if you're just being if dad's just being cheap, like he's got it, he just don't want to give it to you,
mm-hmm.
or whatever the case may be, that's one thing. But as long as he's trying to be there in person, then take it with it. I mean, kind of, I guess every situation is gonna be slightly different. But even if he's trying and he's just not quite there yet, at least let him spend time. Just because that time is important. That physical presence is important. Even those conversations are important.
Mm-hmm.
So I definitely see that a lot of where, you know, he ain't been paying his child support, he ain't been doing this, he ain't been doing that, yada, yada, yada. So he can't see, talk to, whatever the case may be. And that's just more detrimental to the kid in general.
Facts.
Than it is, than that money is. But again, it's like I said, every situation is slightly different. But overall, I feel like conversations, and they may not be exactly remembered every single conversation, but the buildup of the memories are gonna be there. Like, hey, we talked. Like, especially as a dad, I love talking to my daughter. She's very short. She ain't got time for small talk. I'll call her, you know, hey, I'm good. I miss you. I love you. All right, Daddy, I'm doing this. Can we talk later? I was like, yeah, baby, I love you. I'll talk to you later.
Do your thing.
Yeah, exactly. Like, she don't have time for small talk. She don't have time for chit chat. She just, I'm doing something. Yeah. Like, all right, cool. I was making sure you good. I'm good, Daddy. I'll call you later. Click. I was like, all right. And I think that was one of the tougher challenges early on, was the fact that I always felt like I gotta have these 30, 40-minute conversations with my daughter. Mind you, she was, you know, 5, 6, 7 at the time, and like what 5, 6, 7-year-old, you know, has that kind of attention span? Like, exactly. Oh yeah. So I mean, but now that I've realized what kind of person she is now, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, if that, and she's good. Like she's not like I don't think I've ever been in a situation where like I wish she would call me more, wish we would talk more. We talk when she's good, and then just real quick, it's just quick and to the point. She called me. She wrote a story, not for me, but she wrote a story the other day. She called me to tell me to read it to me. Mm-hmm. She read it to me. She's like, all right, well, that's all I wanted to share with you. I'll talk to you later. It's like, all right, goodbye. Click. Like, all right,
that's it. That's the end of the story. So
yeah, exactly. I was like, okay,
come on
cool.
in.
So it doesn't necessarily, like, I definitely had to learn that it's not the length of the conversations per se. It's just making sure that when they call that you can be there, or if not, you can get back to them. Because I don't think there's anything worse than having your kid call you and you're just like, hey, can't call you back, I'm too busy, or at least kind of getting some kind of response.
Right.
So communication, I feel like, is definitely a big key in situations where you can't always be there physically. Because she lives in Maryland, and I live here in Houston. So this was because of COVID. This was the first year I wasn't able to see her in person. Because normally she'll fly out here for the summer, for Christmas, or whatever the case may be. But obviously that didn't happen this year. But we talked consistently.
Yeah,
I try to talk to.
Lives in California.
Yeah. So
she was out here for the past 5 years, but went back so that she could go to high school there, because the high school here we didn't want her to go to. It was trash.
Yeah. I know that feeling.
Yeah,
that was my
like,
situation.
fuck that shit.
I was here for middle school, and then I went back to San Diego for high school, and they were just like, you're gonna stay here and finish high school here. And I was like, all right.
Like, all right, fuck it. Yeah, this is where I'm at. San Diego not bad to be at though. Shit, California, boy, I miss it. So I miss the weather.
Yeah, I say that.
Yeah.
I'm here for a reason.
Yeah,
I'm here for a reason. So
property values is cheap in the motherfucker.
But being a dad definitely is. It's a feel that you really can't describe the same way twice whenever you're asked, because it's always a great feeling, but it's ever evolving, and it's great. It's like there are times where I just could not understand dads who actively weren't trying to be in their kids' lives. And I'm just like,
what is that about? I don't
like how? Like how do you not? How could you not?
Exactly. Like, that's your kid.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I don't.
And even just watching these little people just grow and develop and just learn, and it's just like, how can you be okay with missing all of this?
Exactly.
Like, I don't understand it.
Exactly. I would. Oh my God. I mean, just so many things. I would hate to have missed anything.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? My daughter Gianni was a daredevil when she was a baby. It was fucking insane. Because for whatever reason, literally only like fucking 8 months old. For whatever reason, whenever we would put her in her swing, she would always stand up in the swing and just hold on to the pole, and then just be rocking back and forth, just standing herself up, and just like was doing it like not even tripping, like not even thinking for a second that she gonna fall. She just like, I know what I'm doing, you know what I'm saying? And we would always be like, what are you doing? Like, no, let's sit down, don't swing anything. And she would stand right back up and just be swinging on the thing and climbing all on it and standing on the table, and we just be like, you just not gonna fall. You just know you're not gonna fall. You just
good.
You good. Like, it's crazy. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, when I think about that shit, I just be like, damn, I would have hated to have missed something like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's that little baby shit that you just be like, or the first time they smile or laugh at something, or the first time, like me too. Oh my God. And my exes fucking hate this shit, but every single kid said daddy first. It was just the thing. And I wasn't even like on my oldest daughter, I was always in her face like, dada, you know what I'm saying? Like, you gonna say fucking daddy first. That was my first one, you know what I'm saying? So I'm like, dada, trying to get it. But every other kid, like, I never did that shit, and they always would just be like, dada, just always first. And then the moms would be all mad and shit, like, why this motherfucker always saying daddy? And then
To be fair, I believe it's easier to say dada than mama. And I think, I forget where I heard that from.
I heard it from somewhere. That part right on.
I heard it from somewhere.
Fuck
but
that.
It's easier to say. So if your kid says mama first, that means, hey, just think of it as a real win. But that is definitely easier to say first.
Erase.
So
we just gonna take this whole little section and just talk that shit right out there. I'm keeping that win. Dad first is what was said by every kid of mine. And I'm taking that. We're just gonna cut that piece right on out of there.
But yes, I don't think I've ever been as in the moment than holding my daughter for the first time. Like being the first, I'm gonna hold that over everybody's head ever. I'm gonna hold it over her mom's head, her stepdad's head. All like I got to hold her first. I was the first person to hold her, and it was. I can't even describe the moment, but it was. It's amazing, and just.
Yeah, they're wonderful when they're babies. That first little picture.
Yeah.
Like
and just watching
scrunched up and tiny in the fucking hospital garments that they give you and gloves and shit.
And then just as time progresses, I'm really happy about the age of cell phones. Just the fact that I've taken pictures of every single situation. And
I got folders and folders and folders on my laptop.
And you've seen the progression
growing up.
How much they look the same, but also very different. Like how much they've grown, and it's a wonderful feeling. Like,
Gianni grew out of her neck. She had that hot dog thing going on when she was a baby. I was like, oh no, is she ever gonna lose that? But yeah, it stretched right on out. She grew right out of that. Still look the same though. It's crazy. Well, shit, I think we have covered enough for today. That was a good one. Some dad shit. There definitely will be another episode because there's so much more dad shit to go over. And you gave me an idea for another episode called co-parenting. We'll delve into that. So we will see you next time on Man Cave.